What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Have you guys, like myself, been suspicious on how all these xenophobic groups are popping out of nowhere as Pan Africanism is on the rise? Well, in South Africa, I've been making videos about these xenophobic idiots in South Africa who hate their brothers and sisters, but they ain't got no smoke for the white people. And I finally figured out what their name is: Dudula, Operation Dudula. They are the South African equivalent to FBA in ADOS, but they're more organized like ADOS. They're just as stupid as FBA, but they're more organized like ADOS. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some information down here because listen, I'm like, there's no way these supposed, people are suffering so bad, but they got all day and they got financing to go and travel to hospitals and clinics and various other places to harass, fight, and terrorize other Africans, while keep in mind, not having no smoke for the colonizer that's causing all of their problems. 100% of all their problems are caused by that white Afrikaner Boer, right? But instead of going after the white Afrikaner Boer, they go after the victims of the white Afrikaner Boer, right? There's absolutely no way all this shit ain't correlated. And all of a sudden, we got all these dumb-ass xenophobic African Americans that all of a sudden got a problem with all other Africans all of a sudden. And all that shit was started when Tariq Nasheed started arguing about hip-hop. That was the seed planted to get African Americans to fight over who invented hip-hop in New York. And by that, he gathered his dumb-ass army. And from there, all his little minions went off. And all of a sudden, they hate immigration. Keep in mind, African Americans are the architects of immigration. We are the reason why immigrants come to America. We obviously supported it because we fought for it, right? We fought so that these people can come here. Now, all of a sudden, 30 years later, we're anti-immigrant. Like we were doing any of the jobs that they were doing when they came over here. Come on, none of this shit makes sense. It's all sponsored by white supremacy, using the stupid, xenophobic, hateful, gullible members of our African community who don't mind being traitors to their community. You just give them some bullshit cause they can hang on to justify their hatred for themselves, and they project that shit onto all other Africans. These people are doing the work of white supremacy for them because there's not enough white people to do it. You see, that's the thing about it. If it was enough white people to do it, they would just do it themselves. But they can't, because their numbers are small. So all the rich white people, right, in their think tanks, there's really things called think tank. That's why my name is Afro Think Tank. I'm an African think tank. That's why I talk the way I talk, right? Because there are white think tanks that sit around. They sit around and think, how can we destroy the black community? How can we disenfranchise the black community? How can we slow down the progress of Pan-Africanism? They literally do that. There's people who get paid to sit around and talk about that. Just like there was people who sat around and got paid to say, how can we convince poor white people in Britain to disconnect themselves from the rest of Europe? How can we do that? There's a whole movie about it on Netflix. There's a whole movie about it on Netflix, how they convince poor white people to disenfranchise themselves by detaching themselves from pan-Europeanism and detaching themselves from Europe. Now look at Britain now, trying to get back in that shit, right? Like, come on, guys. Anyway, the Fry Fest. Remember the guy who did the Fry Fest? He's one of them guys who said, how can we manipulate stupid white people to give us a bunch of money for concerts and then we can just not deliver and we can just get all the money? How do we scam people? There's people who sit, professional scammers who figure out how to manipulate the minds of people. There's a whole science. You got psychology. There's a whole science behind it, right? Sales. There's a whole science to sales, how to manipulate somebody into buying something they don't need. The brain is easily malleable. You can make people, depending on their personality types, to believe anything, right? So that's what's happening right now. So I'm going to put some information here, and you guys just listen to it so we can be armored with information. This is the war is the information war, all right? The more information you know, the more you can't be tricked by those that mean to manipulate you. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
With that, the Dudula, it's unemployed ANC crooks. They claim to be ex-combatants but if you listen to all of them, if they visit your firm or your factory or your establishment, all of them are drunk. It's a group of drunkards who are going around intimidating people. So you must not fear anything, because Dudula knows EFF doesn't play games. So when they come to intimidate you, please just make a call to the chairperson of the branch. He will know how to deal with them. We have dealt with them before in many places, and we even got some of them arrested. You remember they went to raid a house of our member. They said he was a drug dealer, who were extremely poor person, beat him up and all of that. We took them to jail, opened a case, and their boss was sentenced to 5 years, and that 5 years was suspended. So if he makes a mistake in between the sentencing and that 5 years, we'll get him arrested immediately. So please, there's no room for intimidation in South Africa. The chair of the branch will know what needs to be done, and it will be done.
This is a graph which shows the population of South Africa. And as you can see, black people make up 81% of the population of South Africa. Meanwhile, white people make up 7.2% of the population of South Africa, as of whichever year this is from, 2024. As you can see here, white people own 72% of the land in this country. Meanwhile, black people own 4% of the land in this country. And it's astonishing to me that there are people who would believe that the issue going on in this country are black foreigners. There's a line of thought that says no one is illegal on stolen land. Before apartheid, they were stealing our land. They use apartheid as a system to solidify and entrench the deepening of which they can steal our land of. And post-apartheid, the ANC has done nothing to rectify the land loss and the access that black people have in this country. And now South Africans are frustrated, and they're taking out their frustration on Zimbabweans, Namibians, Botswanans, Nigerians, some Venda people as well. Venda being a group of people from South Africa. But Venda people don't look South African. So there's any number of Venda people who have been targeted or prevented from getting their own healthcare as well, because they don't look South African. Is this a hill you want to die on?
Africa belongs to South African. I hate foreigner. I hate Krikamba. I hate Kwarakwara. I hate Zaizai. I don't like foreigner. Foreigner must go to their country. I hate foreigners. I am xenophobic. I hate, again, I hate times and times. I don't know how many times. I hate foreigners. I am xenophobic. I don't like foreigner, because foreigners, I don't have a child because of foreigner. Ramaphosa, take these foreigners to their country right now.
I hate foreigners, and the government is doing nothing. Our kids have turned into zombies. It's all because of them.
But I'm wondering why. You know, you said you hate foreigners.
Most of them are selling drugs. You can ask my son. He will tell you. He started smoking drugs when he was 14 years old. He said it's crystal. That's him.
Dimakatso is part of Operation Dudula, an anti-migrant campaign group and newly formed political party. They blame foreigners for the poor state of the economy and high levels of crime. Critics of Operation Dudula say they're fueling hatred. Figures show about 6.5% of the country's population are migrants. I joined the group as they went to confront a local shopkeeper who they say is in a dispute with his landlady over rent.
Where's the papers of this business? Bring the papers, put the papers here.
Ama-document ukuthi ube la wena amaphepha ukuthi usebenza la South Africa now.
You don't have to.
Tshela nge-passport issue uyovakasha maqeda mele uhambe ubuyele.
The shopkeeper is forced to sign an agreement giving him 2 months to leave the premises.
This is vigilantism.
This one?
This.
No.
You're not a judge,
Yeah.
you're not a policeman, you're not a lawyer,
Yeah.
but you just tried to hold a hearing.
Since you intervened, you made sure there's a peace.
Well, you threatened him and you didn't really give him a real option. I was there, I saw it.
We are not vigilant. He is illegally here. If he was not here, we wouldn't never have this problem.
I've come to meet Annie, who's a campaigner for migrant rights.
Don't worry, I'm not going to show your face.
They destroyed all my clothes.
When was this?
On Sunday.
What did they do to the clothes?
They put it in this gutter.
What did they say?
You must go to Nigeria. We are Duduls. We are South Africa. I vote in this country. I'm a citizen here. If I'm doing something illegal, fine, go to me. I'm doing illegal thing. Now you make my life miserable. I cannot pay my rent.
The migrants, they are the poorest of the poor. And they are vulnerable. They'd rather go to them and rattle them instead of rattling the cages of the guys living in the glass houses.
To bring in Teresa from March and March to speak to us. Firstly, you are here today from March and March, but standing, one could say, in one voice with Operation Dudula.
Yes, good morning. That's correct. I'm standing here in one voice representing March and March because it seems like we have the same belief. And we feel that the South African Human Rights Commission is a unpatriotic NGO because they are fighting for the wrong side. They should be fighting for South Africans, not undocumented foreigners or foreigners per se. They should, if they want to fight for undocumented foreigners or foreigners, they should surely go to their country and go fight for them there. Here in South Africa, you need to fight for your South African citizens. We are rightfully here, and that is why we are trying to make a stand. We want government and all of these other MPOs or NGOs as per se, that is unpatriotic, to understand that we are tired and we are not going to stand for this anymore.
Maybe just to explain why say that the NGOs are being unpatriotic. I mean, of course, you have stated that they should be fighting for South Africa, but just to explain some of the concerns that you have when you're looking at those NGOs.
One of them, we'll look at the hospitals, for instance. Undocumented foreigners, they've got a right to come and use our public facilities, which is untrue because there's a misinterpretation of Section 27.1. Why don't they go further in and investigate what is the rest of those clauses? Hijack buildings. Our children get poisoned with foods that get sold from the spaza shops. So it's all in one glove. They should be standing up for South African citizens, not for these undocumented foreigners, because it seems like the undocumented foreigners and the foreigners per se have got more rights in South Africa than we as South Africans have.
Just elaborate for me. You, not just March and March, but also Operation Dudula, whom we spoke to earlier on, stated that the SA Human Rights Commission is misinterpreting the Constitution. I just want to focus on that. Why do you believe that they are misinterpreting, that's quite a big word, misinterpreting the Constitution?
You see, there's a lot of clause that was in this constitutional rights of South Africa way back in 1998. Which is now nowhere to be found. It was left out of the Constitution. For what reason, we don't know. And that is why I'm saying that there is a misinterpretation and they need to come and rectify this. I mean, if you look at Section 27.1, they say that all foreigner nationals can be using our clinic facilities. But if you go further down, it says that only severe cases will be attended to. So that's one thing that I don't understand. Call me stupid per se, but I need the government to intervene, and they need to intervene ASAP because we are South African citizens. We will not back down.
The desired outcome, of course, you've been not just marching, but also asking for IDs from those that are attempting to access healthcare facilities in the country. Talk to me about the desired outcome. Of course, you have mentioned that you want more secure borders, but talk to me about the desired outcome.
We basically want Home Affairs to also intervene. And good question you're asking me now, because this morning and yesterday we had an undocumented foreigner whose name is, okay, I'm not going to mention the name. She actually has got a valid South African citizen ID card. Now, I ask you, when we asked her, where did you obtain that? Oh, I paid 3,000 Rand for it. How come? How come? So we need the Home Affairs to intervene as well, and we need the immigration to start working hand in hand with us so that we can deport these people, because there is an influx of undocumented foreigners and they are the ones who is creating big problems in South Africa. So the sooner the government intervene, the better for South Africans.
And you're calling to relevant departments, not just Home Affairs, relevant departments to also intervene.
all departments that needs to intervene now, before, it's too late.
Teresa, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. That's Teresa from March and March. Iman, as we heard from that conversation, some of the demands that they are going to be making today. But as you can see, the march is actually starting now. As stated earlier on, they are going to be marching to the SA Human Rights Commission offices, which is a few minutes away from where we are. They are going to hand over a memorandum. At this point, it's not clear who is going to receive that memorandum, but we are told that there's a number of demands that they are going to be making this morning, Iman.
Operation Dudul says it is protecting South Africans, that it's defending jobs, healthcare and safety from being overwhelmed by foreign nationals. It's a message that resonates with many because the frustration is real. But what happens when frustration becomes policy without proper facts to back it up? So let's look at the numbers. South Africa has a population of about, give or take, 65 million people. Migrants, both documented and undocumented, form about 4 to 5% of the population. And yet they've become the center of blame for everything from unemployment to overloaded clinics to crime. Is that proportionate or is it convenient? Most migrants in South Africa are also not in high-paying jobs. In fact, more than 80% of them do informal work. Domestic work, street traders, construction laborers, shop assistants. And these jobs are often unregulated and severely underpaid. And yes, that raises very valid concerns because in a broken labor system, cheap, unprotected labor becomes attractive at the expense of local employment, wage growth, and local skills development. But that is not a migration issue. That's a labor enforcement issue. Another concern is safety. People ask, why is there an increase in informal settlements, unregistered businesses, people overstaying their visas, or being here undocumented? The answer is often delays and dysfunction in the legal system. Because right now, over 100,000 asylum applications are stuck in a backlog. And some have waited up to 5 years just for clarity. So while follow the legal route sounds reasonable, the legal route itself is broken and non-functioning. Then there's another flashpoint, healthcare. There's a deep belief that migrants are overwhelming clinics and hospitals, but surveys by medical NGOs show the opposite. Many migrants avoid clinics and hospitals out of fear of being either mistreated or deported. So again, the problem is not overuse, it's exclusion, poor communication, and underfunded systems. And here's something we don't talk about enough. Western migrants from Europe, North America, Australia, they are also here. They live in well-resourced suburbs, benefiting from favorable exchange rates, and have access to top-tier private healthcare. But public anger never focuses on this. So when we do debate migration, we must ask, are we being objective or selective? The truth is, South Africans have valid concerns about unemployment, about exploitation, about safety, but blaming migrants, especially low-income African migrants, don't solve our problems. It won't build jobs for us. It won't fix our housing. It won't reform home affairs and improve labor protections. Those are structural failings, and they also need structural solutions. So before we rally behind movements that promise protection, we need to ask, are they offering solutions or are they scapegoating? Because if the goal is a safer, fairer, functional South Africa, then we need policies based on facts, not fear.
EFF has come here to accompany this leader to open a case against him, and we want him to be arrested because the police, if they don't make an intervention on what Operation Dudul is happening here in Johannesburg, it's already started spreading to Alex. It has already started spreading to the Western Cape. We are going to encourage our people to defend themselves.
They've now given police 7 days to arrest the group's leader, but Operation Dudul says it's not taking this long.
Well, guys, there have been people here, small boys who said Malema will be stopped, this shutdown will not happen, will physically stop Malema, will be with the president to stop Malema, and threatening Malema's democratic right. There's never been anyone who said Malema is being threatened with violence. And I'm not worried about you not saying that. Only when Malema starts threatening violence, all of you will be having voices. Some boys film themselves all the time here threatening me. And I can tell you with ease let any boy come and try to stop me. He will meet his maker. When he leaves in the morning, he must kiss his mother goodbye. I've got no time for boys. Let him try and stop me on the 20th of March. He will meet his maker. No boy or girl can stop me and can take away my right. They say that every day on social media, they film themselves. No one says Malema's right is being threatened. That Malema is being threatened. If my right cannot be defended by the media, by the law enforcement, I've got a legal obligation to defend myself, and I will do it. The same happens to agent provocateurs and outside forces. The fighters have got a responsibility to isolate agent provocateurs and outside forces who want to hijack the march and give it a bad name. And anyone who threatened the right of the fighters and fellow South Africans, defend yourself. That includes fidelity. By the way, we're not scared of poison. Well, it's nobody, he's just another human being. He's got no authority over violence. That he conducted himself the way he did in KZN, it doesn't...
I will personally be there to make sure that Julius goes behind bars. Mark my words, I will be there. And Julius can go on and say that if that boy comes and he tries to stop me, he'll meet his maker. Julius, I don't go around with blue lights and bodyguards. And let me tell you, if Julius will be at that march for whatever reason, at any given point on the street, he will be surrounded by bodyguards. But again, I will personally, because me, I'm a man of my word, and I'm always frontlining, not leading from the back. I'm leading from the front. That's why I would be on the streets to ensure that I grab the bull by its horns, just to save this country of ours, because we are not going to be held at ransom by politicians that are actually terrorists instead of politicians. Now, the long and short of it is that a message to Manto, Julius's wife: do not worry, we will continue to take care of you with Julius behind bars or with Julius running around the streets and causing chaos.
This is your position with your qualification. Turn this thing around.
Last remark, you and Dandalax on each other's throats. What's the deal there? Can't you pull together and with the people of your kind of influence and stature to work together towards resolving problems that are affecting your constituency, which is truly joint, if one may say?
Who's that?
Yeah, there's way two people. Or,
no, I'm saying who are you talking about? Who's that?
It's my next guest, Dandalax.
I don't know those things. I'm international.
But you do know
No,
what
I'm international. Cuba, if you go there and say Julius Malema.
Have you ever met and talked with him?
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no time for things. I've got time for beings. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to have to leave it there. Yes. Julius Malema.
The EFF is a peaceful organization and a disciplined organization of the poor masses of our people. We've never we're unarmed. You can see us here, we're disciplined. We are not causing. Why are you asking us these petty questions when it's Dudula that is stopping our people to access health care? A 37-week pregnant woman was denied access inside the hospital. Police are outside. You are not asking police, or why are you not executing the court order as you are instructed?
Operation Dudula and the global machinery of black xenophobia, South Africa's internal war. Introduction. Operation Dudula is a far-right anti-immigrant movement that emerged in post-apartheid South Africa, specifically in Soweto, Johannesburg, during a period of growing social unrest. This populist movement, which began in 2021, capitalized on high unemployment, frustration with the slow pace of socio-economic transformation, and a perceived sense of national decline. It masquerades as a community-driven defense force aimed at protecting jobs and resources for South Africans. However, the movement's core agenda, rooted in xenophobia, ethno-nationalism, and violence, has wider implications. The ideologies driving Operation Dudula find parallels with movements in the United States like Foundational Black Americans FBA and American descendants of slavery ADOS. While these movements present themselves as champions of black identity, they often serve as vehicles for division and conflict within the African diaspora, playing into narratives of exclusion and us versus them. These movements' ideologies, both in South Africa and the US, are deeply connected to global white supremacy's goals of divide and conquer, using the rhetoric of black empowerment to foster distrust among people of African descent and Sao division, where unity could otherwise exist. This article examines the rise of Operation Dudul, its relationship with FBA and ADOS, and how these movements align with global white supremacy. We also explore the pushback from progressive Pan-African organizations like the Economic Freedom Fighters, EF, in South Africa, which stands in stark opposition to the xenophobic rhetoric and violence propagated by Operation Dudul. 1. Origins and ideology of Operation Dudul. Founded by Nlanhla Lux Dlamini in June 2021, Operation Dudul quickly gained national traction in South Africa, capitalizing on frustrations with high unemployment, soaring crime rates, and a lack of government accountability. Dlamini presented himself as a champion of the South African working class, invoking an ethno-nationalist agenda to remove immigrants from the country who were accused of taking jobs from South Africans and contributing to crime. The group's name, derived from the Zulu word Dudula, meaning push back or force out, symbolizes their mission to forcibly remove African migrants, particularly from countries like Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Malawi, and Nigeria. The group has staged violent raids on foreign-owned businesses, targeted migrants' homes, and held aggressive protests demanding the removal of undocumented immigrants. While the group's rhetoric is cloaked in a call for economic self-determination and protection of local jobs, it has sparked significant controversy. Critics argue that it masks xenophobic violence, as it targets vulnerable migrants who are fleeing economic hardship, war, and state-sponsored violence, often exacerbated by neo-colonial forces and global imperialist structures. 2. Links to global white supremacy and imperialism. Though Operation Dudul promotes itself as an anti-immigrant nationalist organization, it aligns with broader neo-colonial and white supremacist interests. Historically, South Africa has been an epicenter of imperialist exploitation, where multinational corporations and foreign governments have directly benefited from the extraction of resources and cheap labor. Many of the challenges blamed on immigrants, such as unemployment, crime, and poor service delivery, are in reality the result of decades of systematic looting and disenfranchisement, first by colonial powers and now by multinational corporations. These same corporations fuel the global economic system that keeps African nations in a cycle of dependency, exacerbating the very problems Operation Dudul exploits for its xenophobic agenda. 3. ADOS and FBA movements, a paradox of black exclusionism. In the United States, similar patterns of ethno-nationalism and exclusionism have emerged in movements like ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, and FBA, Foundational Black Americans. Both movements advocate for the rights of African Americans, but their approach often promotes division within the African diaspora by positioning ADOS FBA against Africans from the continent and the Caribbean. ADOS, for example, has pushed a narrow view of black identity that centers the descendants of enslaved Africans in the United States, effectively disregarding the shared African heritage with continental Africans and Caribbeans. The narrative fostered by ADOS seeks to create distinctions between black Americans and other black people based on historical trauma, making a false equivalency between the need for reparations for slavery and the cultural and historical experience of continental Africans or Caribbeans. Similarly, the FBA movement, despite its focus on historical injustices against African Americans, also tends to marginalize Africans who immigrate to the U.S. The movement's emphasis on American first can lead to xenophobic rhetoric that echoes the same nationalist ideologies found in movements like Operation Dudul, all while claiming to represent black empowerment. Both movements share a tribalistic, nationalist rhetoric that attempts to define who is authentically black based on a narrow historical or geographic lens. This ideological framework works to divide people of African descent across borders, undermining a Pan-African unity that could address the root causes of oppression faced by black people globally, including neo-colonial exploitation, white supremacy, and systematic racism. 4. Operation Dudul's resistance, the EFF and Pan-African unity. As Operation Dudul grows in influence, opposition from progressive Pan-African organizations is intensifying. One such group leading the charge against xenophobic movements in South Africa is the Economic Freedom Fighters, EF, founded by Julius Malema. The EFF has long been a vocal critic of movements like Operation Dudul, arguing that xenophobia plays directly into the hands of neo-colonial forces and global capitalism that seek to divide Africans from each other. The EFF's Pan-Africanist platform is based on the idea that African unity is the key to overcoming the continent's challenges. They argue that movements like Dudul are counterproductive, as they serve to perpetuate the notion that African migrants are the cause of South Africa's economic problems, rather than historical injustice, global capitalism, and the ongoing effects of apartheid and colonialism. The EFF believes that such movements are a distraction from the real issues, including economic justice, land redistribution, and the fight against global imperialism. 5. Conclusion: a global struggle against divide and conquer. The xenophobic rhetoric of Operation Dudul in South Africa, the ADOS and FBA movements in the United States, and other similar movements across the African diaspora share a common theme: they are grounded in division. The strategies they employ, be it in the form of violence, exclusionism, or exclusionary nationalism, serve to separate Africans from one another and detract from the collective struggle for global African liberation. These movements, however well-intentioned in some of their calls for justice, ultimately play into the hands of global white supremacy. White supremacist powers benefit from these divisions, as they prevent the unity of African-descended people necessary to challenge imperialism, neocolonialism, and economic exploitation. As progressive Pan-African movements like the EFF continue to fight against xenophobia and the division of African people, the call for unity remains urgent. Only through collective action across borders can the descendants of enslaved Africans, whether in the Americas, Africa, or the Caribbean, come together to dismantle the global systems of oppression that continue to dominate their lives. Operation Dudul, like ADOS and FBA, is but one part of a much larger battle for the soul of the African diaspora, and its consequences reverberate far beyond South Africa's borders. Summary table. Topic key details. Origin founded in 2021 by Nalala Lux Dlamini in South Africa. Named Dudula Zulu for pushback or force out. Core, focus anti-immigration. Protection of South African jobs and resources. Methods: violent raids, evictions, and forced deportations of African migrants. Key allies: xenophobic, ethno-nationalist organizations worldwide, indirectly linked to global white supremacy. Opposition progressive Pan-African groups like the EFF resist xenophobic violence. Global links: neo-colonial and imperialist structures benefit from division within the African diaspora. Parallels to U.S. movements, ADOS and FBA promote ethno-nationalism, exclusionism, and division within the African diaspora. Let me know if you need further expansions or specific aspects of the movements to be addressed in greater depth. Wait. Before you go, for all my subscribers and philanthropists out there, I'm building a solar power community water bowl system in Nigeria. It's going to cost between $5,000 and $6,000. I'm trying to raise money. If you want to participate and help me build this solar power water system, please donate to the Cash App and put solar water in the notes. Solar water in the notes. I'll put PayPal, Stripe, and Zelle. Anyway, thank you. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.